All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, some baseball fans are not old enough to remember that once upon a time that the Cincinnati Reds dominated the baseball scene. The big red machine of the 1970s, which consisted of the likes of Pete Rose, Dave Concepcion, Joe Morgan, and Tony Perez, helped the franchise win a pair of World Series that decade while also making six postseason appearances and just one losing season from 1970 to 1979. Now, the Reds would go on to win another World Series title in 1990. But, since then, for the most part, it's been slim pickings. 1995 was the last time that the Reds won a postseason series. And since 2013, the Reds have only made one trip to the postseason, which came in the shortened 60 game 2020 campaign, which saw an expanded postseason. But after an 83 and 79 campaign for Cincy last season, this year's team looks drastically different from with some key performers from that club no longer calling the Queen City home. Nick Castellanos is the most notable of the bunch, who he left in free agency to sign with the Philadelphia Phillies. He had a big year for the Reds last year, hit 309 with 34 homers and 100 runs batted in. But, he's gone. And we've seen the likes of Sonny Gray be traded. And, we could just go right down the list of the departures for the Reds. Now, they had themselves a good old fashioned fire sale last year for the most part, and it shows right now. Cincinnati is 2 and 11. They've lost their last 9 games, and in these 9 games, it hasn't even been close. With the exception of the first game of the losing streak, which was last Tuesday against Cleveland, Cincinnati has failed to score more than 3 runs in any of those contests. They just got swept in San Diego by the Padres. And in that 3 game series, the Reds only managed to score 3 runs, which included being shut out today by the hands of the Padres. Now, this all falls into the lap of the brain trust, if you want to call it that much, that is leading the way for this Reds organization right now. Bob Castellini, the team owner, and of course his son Phil, who is the president, and he's basically calling the shots. They're not exactly that popular in the Queen City at the moment, as the Reds fan base, for the most part, is fed up with them, and you can't blame them. I mean, there's a level of arrogance coming from this family. And the bottom line is the people in Cincinnati want to see results, and the people in Cincinnati deserve better. I mean, let's be realistic. This is one of MLB's oldest franchises. And I mean, you think about, what the Reds have meant to Major League Baseball for so long. They have a very long and storied history, and it's really gotten glossed over in this modern era. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, they simply, have not been good. You have a potential future Hall of Famer on your roster right now in Joey Votto. You put talent around him earlier in his career, but that is no longer the case. And I mean, to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to say this, the Castellini family could care less about putting a winning product out there on the field. And it's sad because when you look at this current era in Major League Baseball, it's hard to sell a fan base on buying the product that you're putting out on the field if you're not putting a winning product out there. And honestly, you look at the expanded postseason that we have right now in Major League Baseball, it's very hard to have the current playoff drought that the Reds find themselves in. And it's just unfortunate. I mean, you look at the people of Cincinnati, they have a lot of things to feel good about right now. We've seen the turnaround for the Cincinnati Bengals, who are very down in the dumps for a long time in the National Football League, and the Bengals came within an inch of winning their first Super Bowl title just a couple of months ago. You think about what Cincinnati's football team is, the Bearcats, collegiately, and what they've done as they just reached the college football playoff for the first time in program history. And then on top of that, we're looking at a program that is on the verge of moving to the Big 12 conference, which means bigger money and bigger exposure for that program and university as a whole. And then you have the Cincinnati Reds right now, who simply find themselves in a funk and they can't get out. And the problem is, it starts from the top of their organization with the ownership, and it's arrogance from there. They can care less. And I think by the recent comments from Phil Castellini around opening day for this club, I think it was a huge slap in the face to every season ticket holder for the Cincinnati Reds, every fan that supports the Reds uh, in any aspect. It's still early to this season, but honestly, the way things are going right now for the Reds, it appears to be a wash, and we haven't even reached the end of April. And as good as things were for this Reds franchise once upon a time, they unfortunately they currently find themselves on a fast track to nowhere. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but it is truly sad because even after the big red machine of the 70s. You think about what the Reds had in the 80s with the likes of Dave Parker, Chris Sabo, Barry Larkin, Eric Davis, Jose Rio. Of course, like a lot of that led into the 1990s as well. Hal Morris, Paul O'Neill. And I could just keep going right down the list as far as what, the Reds organization and what the Reds franchise has meant to Major League Baseball for so many years. This is a slap in the face to the fans, and unfortunately for Cincinnati, they are on fast track to not just having a bad season, but you're looking at a team right now, the way things are going, they're 2-11. They could possibly have their first 100 loss season for the first time in 40 years. That's how bad things are. And just maybe if that does happen, maybe that could be the impetus that we need to see things get turned around in Southern Ohio. But it's only hopeful. But unfortunately for the Reds, this is not looking like a good season. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.